The day the stars went silent, the first thing Commander Elena Vasquez noticed was the silence. After 15 years of monitoring deep space signals at the Arecibo facility, she had grown accustomed to the constant whisper of cosmic radiation, the gentle hum of distant pulsars, and the occasional burst of solar interference. But at exactly 14:32 GMT, on what would later be called Silent Tuesday, every signal stopped. Not decreased, not changed frequency. Stopped. Elena's fingers flew across her console, checking every receiver, every satellite uplink, every piece of equipment in the array. Everything was functioning perfectly. The universe had simply gone quiet, as if someone had pressed a cosmic mute button. She reached for her emergency communicator with trembling fingers. "This is Deep Space Monitoring Station Alpha 7 to all stations. We have complete signal blackout from all deep space sources. Repeat, we are showing 0 cosmic background radiation. Please confirm your readings." The responses came back immediately. From monitoring stations around the globe, Tokyo confirmed, Moscow confirmed, Cape Town confirmed. Every station on Earth was reading the same impossible thing. The universe had gone silent. What Elena didn't know was that 847 light-years away, Captain Marcus Steele Harrison was about to make the discovery that would change everything. Harrison stood on the bridge of the experimental warship Prometheus, watching his sensor operator, Lieutenant Jake Morrison, frown at his readings. "Captain, we're picking up some kind of gravitational distortion at the edge of the system. It's massive. Sir, bigger than anything in our databases." Harrison was a man carved from granite and forged in the fires of 3 different conflicts. At 45, he had served in more combat zones than most soldiers saw in a lifetime. His crew called him Steel, not just for his grey eyes, but for his unbreakable will when things got tough. The Prometheus was his command, his pride, and humanity's most advanced warship. "Show me," Harrison ordered. The main screen flickered to life, displaying what appeared to be empty space. Then Morrison adjusted the sensors, and Harrison's blood turned to ice. Ships, hundreds of them. Each vessel was the size of Manhattan, their hulls black as the void between stars, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. They moved in perfect formation, like a school of mechanical sharks hunting through the cosmic deep. "Jesus Christ," Morrison whispered. "Sir, I count 423 vessels. Each one is reading as approximately 15 kilometers long." Harrison had trained for this moment his entire career, though he had never truly believed it would come. First contact protocols, alien invasion scenarios, humanity's response to extraterrestrial threats, all theoretical exercises until now. Communications. Send a priority alert to Fleet Command. Unknown alien vessels approaching Earth. Estimated time to arrival, 16 hours. Harrison's voice was steady, but inside, his mind was racing. All hands to battle stations. This is not a drill. The next few hours passed in a blur of frantic preparation. Earth's combined military forces, impressive by human standards, began moving into defensive positions. The Prometheus, equipped with experimental quantum weaponry and adaptive armor plating, took point position in the forward battle group. Admiral Catherine Stone's voice crackled through the comm system from Fleet. "Command. Steele, you and the Prometheus are our ace in the hole. Your ship has technology the aliens haven't seen. If this goes badly, you're to break off and preserve your vessel at all costs." "Understood, Admiral, but with respect, if it goes badly, running won't save humanity. That's an order, Captain. We need you alive for whatever comes next. The alien fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel exactly when Harrison's calculations predicted they would. They hung in space like dark omens, their hulls seeming to devour the light from distant stars. For 3 hours, both fleets faced each other across the void. Earth's forces sent every form of communication they could devise. Mathematics, music, images, radio signals across every frequency. The aliens responded with silence. Then they began to move. The attack, when it came, was unlike anything in human military history. The alien vessels, which Harrison's crew had begun calling Vorthok ships after their distinctive, triangular design, fired weapons that seemed to bend reality itself. Beams of dark energy reached across space, and wherever they touched, matter simply ceased to exist. The battleship Defiant, pride of the Pacific Fleet, took a direct hit amidships. 7,000 tons of steel and ceramic armor didn't explode or melt. It vanished, leaving behind only empty space and the screams of its escort vessels. Crews as they realized what they were facing. Harrison watched in horror as Earth's fleet died around him. Every missile, every energy beam, every desperate gambit failed against the alien shields. The Vorthok weapons were precise, methodical, and absolutely merciless. Within 2 hours, 90% of humanity's space-based military force was gone. "Captain," Morrison shouted over the chaos, "the aliens are targeting population centers on the surface. New York, London, Beijing, they're all under attack." On the tactical display, Harrison could see the truth that would haunt him forever. Purple beams of annihilation were reaching down from space like the fingers of death itself. Each beam touched a city, and that city died. Not destroyed, deleted. Millions of people, thousands of years of human achievement, entire cultures and civilizations erased in seconds. Admiral Stone to all remaining vessels came the broken transmission. "This is ... This is Fleet Command. We're ordering a general. Retreat. Repeat. All ships are to fall back to secondary positions and await further orders." Harrison looked around his bridge. His crew, the finest men and women he had ever served with, stared back at him with eyes that reflected his own despair. Chief Engineer Sarah Kim, barely 30 but brilliant beyond her years. Weapons Officer David Chen, who could make impossible shots in the heat of battle. Navigator Lisa Park, who could plot a course through an asteroid field blindfolded. These people trusted him to make the right choice. "Sir," Morrison said quietly, "Fleet Command is ordering us to withdraw to the hidden base at Alpha Centauri. The Prometheus is to survive and regroup with any other survivors." Harrison stood silently for a long moment, watching the alien fleet methodically destroy everything humanity had built in space. Earth turned slowly below them, its blue and white beauty now marred by the purple scars of alien weapons. From this distance, it looked peaceful, beautiful even. But Harrison knew that billions of people were dying down there, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. "Helm, set course for the outer system. Full stealth mode." "Aye, sir." As the Prometheus slipped away into the darkness between worlds, Harrison made a decision that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. He opened a ship-wide comm channel. "This is the captain speaking. I know what you're all thinking right now. We're running while our world dies. We're abandoning everyone we've ever known to an enemy we can't fight." His voice carried the weight of command, but also something else. Something harder than steel. "But we're not running to hide. We're running to prepare. The aliens think they've won. They think humanity is finished. They're wrong. We're going to study them. We're going to learn how they fight, how they think, how they die. We're going to become something they've never faced before." He paused, looking out at the stars that suddenly seemed less friendly than they had an hour ago. "They came here thinking we were just another primitive species. They thought they could take our world and move on to the next one. But they're going to learn something about humanity that every species in this galaxy will remember." "What's that, sir?" Morrison asked. Harrison's smile was cold as the space around them. "That the most dangerous human is the one with nothing left to lose." The Prometheus disappeared into the cosmic dark, carrying with it humanity's last hope and the seeds of an empire's downfall. Behind them, Earth burned under alien rule. But in the depths of space, far from dying worlds and fallen civilizations, something new was being born. Something the Vorthok Empire had never encountered in their 1,000 years of conquest. A human with a grudge. A warship full of the finest warriors humanity could produce, and absolutely nothing left to lose. The war for Earth was over. Humanity had lost. The war for the galaxy was about to begin. When legends are born, 6 months had passed since Earth fell, and the Vorthok were discovering that conquering humanity and controlling them were two entirely different problems. Supreme Commander Thakvol stood in his command chamber aboard the massive dreadnought Starbreaker, studying reports that made his secondary hearts beat with increasing anxiety. The holographic display showed incident after incident across the occupied planet. Humans destroyed supply depots with improvised explosives. They sabotaged communication arrays using nothing but scavenged electronics and determination. They turned farming equipment into weapons and household chemicals into bombs. Most disturbing of all, they were learning. "Status report," Thakvol commanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had conquered 47 worlds. "Sir, we have recorded 847 separate incidents of human resistance this week alone. They are coordinating across vast distances, sharing tactics and intelligence. Our analysts believe they may be receiving guidance from an outside source." Thakvol's skin, normally a pleasant blue-gray, shifted to deep purple with stress. Outside. Source could only mean one thing. Somewhere in space, human military forces had survived the initial assault. The thought was disturbing. In his long career of conquest, Thakvel had never encountered a species that continued fighting after their primary military force was destroyed. What Thakvel didn't know was that his fears were absolutely correct. Deep in the asteroid fields of the outer system, the Prometheus had undergone a transformation that defied every principle of military engineering. Captain Harrison's crew had spent 6 months turning their warship into something no human vessel had ever been before. Part mobile fortress, part research laboratory, part instrument of vengeance. "Captain," Chief Engineer Kim reported, wiping grease from her hands, "the modifications are complete. We've integrated Vorthok shield technology with our quantum generators. The weapons systems are now capable of penetrating their defensive screens." Harrison nodded grimly. Kim was a genius, pure and simple. She had taken wreckage from destroyed Vorthok ships and somehow made it work with human technology. It shouldn't have been possible, but Kim had never been one to worry about impossible things. "What about the stealth systems? Better than we hoped, sir. We can operate undetected within 1,000 kilometers of their vessels. The Vorthok sensors are designed to detect ships like theirs, large, energy-intensive, predictable. The Prometheus doesn't fit their scanning parameters." Harrison smiled for the first time in months. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "Then let's introduce ourselves properly. The first strike came without warning. A Vorthok patrol cruiser, the Shadow of Conquest, was conducting routine sweeps of the Jupiter system when space itself seemed to explode around it. The Prometheus materialized from nowhere, its weapons already firing. Modified quantum torpedoes, carrying Vorthok shield harmonics, punched through the alien vessel's defenses like bullets through paper. The Shadow of Conquest died in seconds, its crew having no time to send a distress signal. The Prometheus collected what intelligence it could from the wreckage and vanished back into the cosmic dark. "One down," Harrison muttered, studying the tactical data they had gathered. Several thousand to go, but the real victory wasn't the destroyed ship. It was the message Harrison transmitted uncaptured Vorthok communication frequencies sent to every resistance cell on Earth. "This is Ghost 1 to all resistance cells. The enemy can be beaten. Their shields operate on rotating frequencies that can be bypassed with proper timing. Their weapons have limited range in atmosphere. Most importantly, they panic when their command structure is disrupted. Study them, learn from them, make them pay for every day they stay on our world." The response was immediate and electric. Across Earth, human resistance fighters began using Vorthok technology against its creators. They learned to hack alien communication systems. They studied energy weapon principles and built crude but effective versions using Earth materials. Most importantly, they began to believe that victory was possible. The pattern repeated across the months that followed. The Prometheus would strike, destroy, and disappear, each attack teaching Harrison's crew more about their enemies. They learned that Vorthok commanders were inflexible, unable to adapt when their standard tactics failed. They learned that alien crews relied too heavily on their technology and became helpless when it was disrupted. They learned that the mighty Vorthok Empire had built its power on fear, but had no strategy for dealing with enemies who refused to stay afraid. Captain, Communications Officer Park reported during one of their rare quiet moments, "We're receiving transmissions from other star systems. It appears our tactics are spreading beyond Earth." Harrison raised an eyebrow. "Show me." The display lit up with signals from across the galaxy. On Kepler 44 to B, human colonists were teaching the native Zalari how to fight Vorthok occupation forces. In the Vega system, survivors from the mining colonies were sharing resistance techniques with the enslaved Yithok population. Everywhere, humans had been relocated by the Vorthok. They were doing what humans did best, refusing to give up and teaching others to do the same. "My God," Harrison whispered, "we're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're starting a galactic revolution." The realization changed everything. Harrison began transmitting not just to Earth's resistance, but to every occupied world within range. The Prometheus became a traveling school of warfare, teaching dozens of species how to fight an enemy they had thought was invincible. On a former agricultural world in the Alpha Centauri system, Harrison met face-to-face with representatives from 7 different species, all united by their hatred of Vorthok rule. The meeting took place in an abandoned mining facility, deep underground, where Vorthok sensors couldn't detect them. The key, Harrison explained to the assembled aliens. Their various forms creating a bizarre but determined council of war is to never let them predict your next move. They think in straight lines. We need to think in chaos. A Zalari commander, her scaled hide bearing fresh scars from recent battles, clicked her mandibles in what Harrison had learned was their version of agreement. "Show us, human. Teach us your chaos thinking." Harrison's smile was sharp as a blade. "Rule 1. When they expect you to defend, attack. When they expect you to attack, disappear. When they expect you to disappear, be everywhere at once. And rule too, asked a Yifik engineer, his tentacles curled with curiosity. Never fight fair. Fair fights are for sports. This is war. The lessons worked beyond Harrison's wildest dreams. Within a year, 12 Vorta-controlled systems had fallen to coordinated rebellion. Species that had been slaves for generations were teaching other species how to fight. The empire that had ruled through fear for 1,000 years was beginning to crumble. But success came with a terrible price. Harrison's crew, the finest humans he had ever known, were dying in a war that seemed to have no end. Chief Engineer Kim was killed during a raid on a Vorthok weapons facility. Navigator Park died when her shuttle was destroyed while evacuating civilians from a bombed colony. One by one, the people Harrison cared about most were being taken from him. "Sir," Morrison reported, during a moment when the bridge was quieter than usual, "we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth. It's Admiral Stone." Harrison's heart skipped. Admiral Stone had been the voice of Fleet Command during Earth's final battle. If she was still alive, still fighting, ... Put her through. The face that appeared on the screen was older, scarred, marked by 2 years of underground warfare. But Admiral Stone's eyes still burned with the same determination that had made her humanity's finest military commander. "Steele, if you're receiving this, then God help me. You're still out there fighting. I need you to know what's happening here. The Vorthok aren't just occupying Earth anymore. They're trying to break us. Genetic modification, psychological conditioning, cultural erasure. They're trying to turn humans into something that won't fight back." Harrison felt ice form in his veins. The Vorthok were trying to remove the very thing that made humans dangerous. Their refusal to surrender. Stone's image flickered as explosions sounded in the background. "Steele, whatever you're doing out there, do it faster. If we lose what makes us human, then even if you win this war, there won't be anything left worth saving." The transmission cut to static. Harrison stood in silence for a long moment, staring at the blank screen. Around him, his bridge crew waited for orders. These people had followed him through hell itself, had given up everything to keep fighting. When the rest of the galaxy had given up, they deserved better than to watch their species die while they fought an endless war among the stars. "All stations," Harrison said, finally, his voice carrying across the ship's communication system. "This is the captain. For 2 years, we've been fighting a guerrilla war against the Vorthok Empire. We've taught half the galaxy how to resist. We've shown them that the Empire can be beaten." He paused, looking out at the stars that no longer seemed cold and distant. Somewhere out there, on 1,000 different worlds, people were fighting because humans had shown them how. But it's time to end this. It's time to go home. Harrison turned to Morrison, his oldest friend and most trusted officer. "Plot a course for Earth. All stealth systems active. We're going to do something the Vorthok will never expect." "What's that, sir?" Harrison's smile carried the weight of 2 years of war, the memory of everyone they had lost, and the hope of everyone they might yet save. "We're going to knock on their front door." The Prometheus turned toward home, carrying with it the weapons, knowledge, and determination of 100 different worlds. Behind them, the galaxy burned with rebellion. Ahead of them, Earth waited for its children to come home. The Empire was about to learn why you should never corner a species that doesn't know how to quit. And the stars themselves would remember the day that one human warship changed the fate of every living thing in the galaxy. The legend of the Prometheus. was about to be written in fire across the cosmic dark.